Alright, everybody's just playing 4 main deck flow states? I'll play 4 main deck rest in peace. I'm not a coward. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we are playing Rest in Peace Helm Miracles Control, courtesy of Justin. Now, I did a pretty decently large tune-up of Justin's original list to end up at this point. The original list was just a little bit too far in the jank, as the original list featured some things like Wheel of Sun and Moon, which I think is a step too far by Legacy standards, and now the list that is on screen looks pretty solid. So there's two different combos in this deck list, one of which ends the game, and one of which prolongs the game, and both are built around Rest in Peace. The downside of playing Rest in Peace is that you don't get to play your Murktide Regents, your Snapcaster Mages, your Flow States, your Mystic Sanctuaries, anything that does graveyard-oriented value, you just don't get to do that. But the upside is all of these Nethergoyfs, Dragon's Rage Channelers, Murktide Regents, Flow States, all that sort of stuff become much worse, and occasionally you're going to get paired against something like Dredge or Oops All Spells, and potentially have a really, really strong Game 1 Haymaker versus those sorts of decks. So combo number one is Rest in Peace plus Energy Field. You prevent all damage that would be dealt to you by sources you don't control, and when a card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, sacrifice this enchantment. Well, if no cards are going to your graveyard, then you have a soft lock on the game, and as long as your opponent is trying to kill you honestly with something like combat damage, you have locked them out of the game unless they have something like a Boseiju or an Abrupt Decay that can start going after your enchantments. And then combo number two is the common Rest in Peace Helm of Obedience combo, where if you pair Helm with either Leyline of the Void or Rest in Peace, for 1 mana you can mill out your opponent and exile their entire library. Stapled to this, we have a essentially blue-white Miracles deck, and I want to talk about this singular card here. This deck needs another win condition. It just needs something else to get over the finish line. And Justin's original build had Jace the Mind Sculptor, which I'm not the biggest fan of in the Orcish Bowmaster world. I like 4th Eorlingas a lot better. It is a fireball with haste that also gives you the Monarch when that is relevant. And in theory, you can also Tamiyo Minus to bring this back. But again, we're not so concerned with the Tamiyo Minus side of the deck while piloting this deck. As the game goes on, that angle is going to be shut off for us. And many of the really cool synergistic win conditions that we might be interested in within this shell do things when they die, or you would like to get them back from the graveyard. We just don't get to do that here, hence the very, very, very light red splash for 1/4 Eorlingas in the main deck, and a second one for the sideboard in case our clock starts getting a little bit low on Magic Online. We have some of the classic Boomer Miracles stuff like Terminus and Counterbalance and Back to Basics that are situationally quite strong, and we're also going to try out a couple of copies of the brand new Erode today, give us a little bit more agency versus, say, Kaito or Tamiyo or Karn. I don't have too much exciting to say about the sideboard here, so let's go ahead and hop into some Magic. Folks, if you need some Magic cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. I got a bunch of cards from them in Vegas, and I am very, very happy with that. I actually gave most of the stuff I got from them away to other people. They're great. They have supported creators well. Promo code ThrabenU saves you a bit on your order. So with that being said, let's battle. Alright, we are playing against a Yorion deck of some kind. My opening hand is okay. The basic mountain that's here is a little bit awkward. That is the cost of trying to fit 4th Eorlingas in there as an alternative finisher. I suspect that my opponent is doing something else other than focusing on Magic. They have used a lot of clock already. Tamiyo resolves. Alright, not Death and Taxes. Oh, that's quite good. In with Tamiyo, I think I'm just willing to do this immediately. My opponent passed on their opportunity to do something like Fatal Push this already. Alright, cool. I can put back this basic mountain and maybe swords. Let that hang out on top. And if it looks like we're playing against Dimir Tempo, I keep that card. And if it looks like we're playing against something like Doomsday, I shuffle. This lets me have Force of Will, Lorien revealed while still pondering. Alright, we're making moves. Basic Island, Basic Plains. Erode is a destroy, which is a little awkward. But the swords that's on top of my deck is an exile, so I'll just draw that. I say that's awkward because of pre-war formalware, specifically, in case I was not clear. And there is indeed the pre-war formalware to hand. So I will make my land drop, fetch out a basic plains, attempt swords here, plus Tamiyo to 6, cast ponder. I don't want another force of will. This is pretty average. I will just shuffle that. Yeah, that's fine. I'll grab a basic island there, I think, and throw down Tamiyo creature. This wins the game very, very quickly here. Fair and balanced magic card. Ooh, a Cavern of Souls on Merfolk. Alright, in we go. I can potentially just draw off a clue to see if I hit a land drop here. I don't know if that is immediately necessary. I'll just pass the turn here, see if they have some cool flash Merfolk. Hull Breacher. Sure. I will attempt to destroy that with Force of Will backup. Alright, dead. That in theory now means that I get to ultimate Tamiyo next turn, unless there are more Hull Breachers running around. I will just go ahead and crack one of these right now. Another Rest in Peace. Sure. That is the pre-war formalware to attempt to bring back the Hull Breacher. I will just go ahead and Force of Will that. Opponent Force of Will's back. This is not actually that big of a deal, because Tamiyo has more words. Ooh, Prismatic Ending. Nice. Timing of my Rest in Peace is awkward there. I'll make my land drop, send in, and I think I will go ahead and play out one of these. We'll just work towards Helm being relevant, and Energy Field stopping me from dying to this. I have a bunch of single target removal in my deck, as well as Terminus that I can randomly spike. I'm not too worried about dying to this card. It can happen. Alright. Resolves. I think I surveil land now that that is in play. Before, it was much more of a question because the one life is incredibly relevant. Say no to the land. I want to find an energy field here. Negative. So I might just die to this stuff. Probably just chump block the Hull Breacher in this turn cycle. I will only take 3 from this. We're just trying to buy more time versus True Name if I find a single target removal spell for this card. Recruiter of the Guard. Sure. Or Witch Enchanter. Alright. I will reveal Terminus. That's why it's in the deck. There is Terminus. Goodbye. I'll crack a clue. Nice. That probably just means that I play another Rest in Peace, so that I have 1 after my opponent Witch Enchanters 1, and then I have 4 or 5 mana kill next turn. Seems good. Opponent could blow up my clue token instead. An Aether Vial is fine. Witch Enchanter is being used as a land. Yori into hand. Hope my opponent doesn't have a counter spell. I think I just cast this anyway. The upside is I win the game. I win the game. Woo! Never worried. GG's. So my opponent is playing like blue-white Merfolk Dirtle Stoneblade, in which case the cards that look like this are probably going to be quite good. Probably interested in these 3 cards. Will think about this. Back to Basics is interesting. Consign is interesting. I don't know that I'm overly interested in either. One has tutorable Witch Enchanters that can break up the energy field nonsense. I'm going to go back to Basics out. I think Counterbalance has too much to try to do in terms of different mana costs. Then maybe go down Force of Negation. That gets me these 3. And I can think about adding the second copy of 4th Aerlingas. I might go down 1 Tameo for it. I don't know, maybe I want to keep the Tameos in to put more pressure on my opponent's copies of Prismatic Ending. Let's try running this configuration. Yeah, this is totally fine. There's 3 basic lands and 2 swords, a Rest in Peace, Marsh Flats, and pass the turn. Oh, nice. I don't think I play this land here, because I think so frequently I want this to be a turn 2 removal spell for something that looks like Stoneforge Mystic. Basic Plains from my opponent. Black mana now. Yep, there's the Stoneforge. We have fully gotten lost in the sauce. You one of my Discord members? I know you sickos love the reality chip. I am still going to Swords this creature, even though this is not the most threatening piece of equipment. Alright, nice. I will take that. I'm just going to take this opportunity to full-on just resolve Rest in Peace. This is just painfully slow here. Recruiter resolves. Going for a Witch Enchanter. Sure. That makes Energy Field more awkward. Let's figure our lives out here. Blue, white, white. Yeah. Probably keep both of these lands. Probably keep Supreme Verdict. I am not ready for this yet. And I maybe lose Rip. In which case Energy Field is a quite bad card. I think I will let Energy Field hover on the top of my deck. And if my opponent plays Witch Enchanter as a land, I can potentially keep that card. That is Flooded Strand as a land drop. I'm fine taking a little bit of chip damage here. That's not something that I'm worried about. Opponent's just chilling. In which case, I will just go ahead and fetch and work towards Supreme Verdict being castable. I'm not the most interested in it right now. And we'll fire off a Brainstorm directly into Orcish Bowmasters. Oh, it is Hullbreacher instead. Sure. Resolves. There is the Swords to Plowshares for it. That is a devastating Force of Will by Reality Chip. So I get to draw no cards here, and then I get to put 2 cards back on top of my deck. Not great. I'll Supreme Verdict that stuff away, but that's a pretty big blow. Opponent fetches and gets Meticulous Archive. They have a ton of mana. Like, Yorion stuff is online at this point. I will take 4 in combat. Not that big of a deal. My whole dirtily enchantment plan. Wow. Sakashima the Imposter. We are dirtling so hard over there. Anyway, my whole, like, dirtily enchantment plan really gets torn apart by the fact that this deck... Jeez, you are dirtling so hard. Alright. Anyway, really gets blown apart by the fact that my opponent has tutorable Witch Enchanter. It's just very, very unfortunate. We will clear that Hullbreacher here, and I guess the Sakashima the Imposter as well. Unless my opponent wants to blow all of their treasures to return that to hand, which they can. Opponent could also Venser this back to my hand if they would like, or Venser a Recruiter or a Hullbreacher. They've got a lot of options. I basically have one. Alright, they're gonna let it go. A Stoneforge Mystic comes down for a Batterskull. Sure. Please no other Hullbreacher? I am keeping cantrips here, I think, with the intention of shuffling with this Ponder. Hitting Erode is awkward. Alright. No shuffle. Attempt Erode. See if my... Okay, that's just gonna happen. Opponent does have even more basics in deck. Witch Enchanter blows up Rest in Peace. I will attempt a Brainstorm. Yuck. Back 1 and 2. And this is going to be an end of turn Surveil land, I think. My opponent's Dirtle is more well positioned than my Dirtle in this matchup. Opposition agent as well, sure. I might concede rather than show them the exact contents of my deck here. I think they win this one with like Venser Batterskull, Opposition Agent, Yorion as well. And they're down significantly on clock, but I don't think I'm going to time them out. I think I'm going to go down 1 energy field for another copy of 4th Airlingas here. Alright, opening hand is a thing. I get Volcanic Island here. Or sorry, Tundra here. I care about white for 2 different cards. And attempt to get Tamiyo going. Opponent has their own Tundra. Alright, I mean, I've got some good stuff here. Send in. I think I am just going to play Rest in Peace, despite the fact that I do have active Tamiyo right now. Like, this is how I am looking to win the game. And Tamiyo can just be a clue machine that helps me to hit my land drops or whatever. March of Otherworldly Light. Nah, I would like to keep my Tamiyo, please. Opponent says no. Okay, I mean, that's a Force of Will out of their hand for the purposes of this Helm Lighter. I will take it. This is a guaranteed land drop. Do that around Opposition Agent, I guess. Bulk. I'm already wastelandable. That's fine. And I will just draw this card now because Hull Breacher. Force of Will with no card to pair with it is not what I'm looking for. And my Wrath of the Skies is not exactly great when I have Rest in Peace in play already. Opponent gets the Reality Chip. I just hold this for the turn where I go for the Helm of Obedience win. Or until I draw another blue card, I think. The Reality Chip seems like a bad card, and if my opponent is fetching that, I just think they have Force of Will in hand. They fetch. And I say that as someone who has been bribed to play Reality Chip multiple times. It's, rough. Caracas enters exile, so if I had played out my Tamiyo, it would not have been particularly relevant. Alright, looks like we're passing the turn here. Vista is fine. I think I will just make my land drop and pass. I want to do this on 5 mana. If my opponent fetches with Flooded Strand, I will fetch with Prismatic Vista in response. Opposition Agent is a thing that my opponent has shown us already. Or similarly, once they activate this, I can also fetch with Prismatic Vista. I know it's safe from Opposition Agent. They have a Batter Skull, sure. There's just a random island. And I can also just Wrath of the Skies for 0 if I need to buy a little time versus that Germ token. I will take 5. Down to 12. I just want to draw a land here. Wrath of the Skies for 2. Very awkward. I guess I'm countering that. It's just more awkward because I believe that my opponent, like, potentially can have Force of Will, Reality Chip as their last 2 cards. That's weird. Alright. I mean, I'm going to play this out now. Alright, it is Force of Will, Reality Chip as the last 2 cards. I will take 5 more in combat. And there's a Recruiter of the Guard or Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. The resources are quite awkward here. I think I need to be able to hit Energy Field as a thing that matters. I'm going to bank some extra energy for later and cast this for X equals 2. And I will just do this for 0 to blow that up. I will keep my Rest in Peace. My opponent can hit me to 5 and then attack me for 4. And then I just need to hit Supreme Verdict, Terminus, Energy Field. It's not a great spot. Oh fuck, I'm dead to Batterskull Equip. Just for giggles, did the next card bail me out? The next card did not bail me out. My deck was not well positioned versus my opponent's deck. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Alright, we don't have enough mana in this hand, but with 3 cantrips here, it'll probably work itself out somehow. Tamiyo is a busted Magic the Gathering card, so let's lean on her. Opponent says, "Greeting, fellow Phil. There can only be one!" Ponder is fine. That's a shuffle on their Ponder. Rest in Peace is not what I'm looking for. I just want more mana right now. I don't know how good this card is right now. There's a very big difference between this being a tempo deck and a show and tell deck here. And it looks like it's a tempo deck. In which case, randomly spiking a land and playing Rest in Peace next turn could be pretty hot. Just like make it so that the Murktide Regents never have an opportunity to come down. Ponder is fine again. There is something to be said about waiting a turn to play Rest in Peace around days if I randomly spike the white land here, but I don't. I'm going to go for Ponder for 4 looks at my next land drop. Fantastic. Do I care about these cards? I'll put Force of Will on top, but I don't think I am going to end up drawing any of these. And I'm more interested in getting a basic white land than I am playing another Ponder right now. So that can resolve. I'm going to try to stick this. I could fetch and swords this right here and give my opponent a chance for a Daze or Force of Will and just treat this as bait. Kind of into that. Make it look like this swords matters when it just frankly does not. Nice. Yeah, and I will just fully let that resolve. I save Force of Negation for Corey Steelcutter. And then there's a Ponder. Daze goes to Graveyard. Kind of a tough one. Daze seems reasonable, but is going to keep getting worse. Like a Daze on this Rest in Peace, for example, would be huge, but I don't think that my opponent would be anticipating me casting this card. I really want to hit a land drop, and it can be literally any land drop in my deck, or looks at literally any land drop. I'm fine with that. Woohoo! No. What a beating. I'm also on like 21 lands, so that was a relatively unlikely thing to happen there. It's huge that I'm only taking 1 for this. Down to 18. The punish of Murktide Regent would be devastating, though. That can resolve. That can also resolve. Okay, here is my land drop. I'm going to go Rest in Peace, make these bad. Force of Will blue card. All right, nice. And then I can start looking for more land drops, or I can just play Tamiyo, and Tamiyo blocks 1 point of damage or saves me 3 life, and it potentially eats a lightning bolt. I think I'm okay playing Tamiyo. Delver triggers. Chain Lightning. Opponent can do their surveilling. Misty goes bye-bye. Second card stays on top. I think I will Force of Will this. Sorry, Force of Negation this. Another Lightning Bolt. Yeah. Very happy that that is not going at my face. I am still taking 5 points of damage here, but I'm hoping that doesn't matter because I just play Helm and activate Helm and my opponent dies. There are some cool things I can spike like Terminus that would be a huge spin as well. Opponent has 1 card in hand. I don't think that 1 card is Daze. Yep. Double Lightning Bolt kill me. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Double Lightning Bolt does not kill me. Brazen Borrower could bounce one of my things. That is a Brainstorm. And it has flow states confirmed. So Rest in Peace even better than I thought it was. I get hit for 5. Down to 8. Second land drop. I think I'm going to take a look for Force of Will. Negative. If things go wrong, I don't hate having swords. Will not use Ponder's ability to shuffle. I will Island cycle this. I want to have 5 mana for next turn to play Helm and activate Helm if things go wrong. So there's this. I don't need Brainstorm. Pass turn, I'll Helm them in upkeep. I'll actually Helm them here because Brazen Borrower is no longer live. Yeah. Alright, fantastic. GG. This is more what I'm talking about. This is the blue deck that we are, set up to fight. Not the previous round where my opponent was going crazy with value-oriented permanents that don't care about the graveyard. Removal spell, removal spell, removal spell. Back to basics I can think about. Hydroblasts I can think about as well. I think these 3 need to come in no matter what, and I probably do Hydroblast stuff too. Force of Negation can go. I don't know that I am excited about back to basics. I think that's not how I am effectively winning. Counterbalance can go, I think. My opponent's curve is low, but there's stuff like Murktide Regent that is rather awkward. Plus, I think assembling this stuff is just pretty good. That gets me these 3. I don't mind Hydroblast. I could potentially just not Force of Will here. Play 2 Hydroblasts, another 4th Airlingas, or like 2 Force of Wills. Having more things that address Quarry Steelcutter is not crazy. Yeah, sure. Opening hand could use more mana. I think this is a 6-card hand where this card is probably dead. I think I'll keep it anyway. Mountain here slightly awkward. Want that to be literally any other land in the entire deck. Alright, an opponent keeps their cards. Alright, I mean, there's Rip Energy Field. I think I am just getting basic island here, though, and looking for non-wastelandable lands here. Nope. Shuffle. Yikes. My hand has great stuff. Deploying things might be another question. The opponent says no to Daze. They're probably just trying to be maximally aggressive with this. Now, as soon as this land hits Graveyard, this is a 3/3. Looking for land or any cantrip. Any cantrip is fine. I will brainstorm. Okay, deck. All right. We've looked at a lot of cards without finding a land. I'll put back 2 Helms. Make a land drop and pass. If I have to, I can play out Energy Field as something that is likely to gain me 3 to 6 life. Not really how I would like to use that card, but it is on the table as a thing that I am legally allowed to do. I will take 3 from this attack. I am at 16. And my opponent has a Murktide Regent. We might be on one of these lines. We have missed the window for Rest in Peace to stop this. I'm going to try to keep hitting land drops here. I think. Holy shit. The difference between me naturally drawing a land and not is huge. I'm gonna risk it. Nope. Nope. Disastrous. I will discard 4th Airlingas. I started with 2 lands. I think Ponder Shuffled did not hit lands. Brainstorm did not hit land. Ponder Shuffle did not hit land. Alright. I'm not saying the opening hand was the greatest or anything, but the variance here is kind of wild. And again, I think this is like a lot of lands. Yeah, this is 21 lands. This, I think mathematically should not be happening. Or maybe more accurately, is unlikely to happen. I'm so upset. Still? Alright. Here is Energy Field. Yeah. Am I dead immediately? It feels like I'm dead immediately. 6-9. Yeah. Alright. What a brutal game. GG. Let's just try that again where we draw. Land. I mean, sure. I'm not excited about it. But sure. This is the opposite problem of last game where I now have too much mana. This can be a Surveil land and it's fine, and then I can intend on using a Prismatic Ending on whatever threat my opponent plays on turn 1. Yeah. Let's archive. Energy Field. I don't need that yet. The biggest thing that does is pair with Force of Will. I'd rather just shuffle Force of Will away with a Brainstorm later or something. So, let's Prismatic Ending away this creature. And I haven't seen a Quarry Steelcutter yet. It still is the thing that would be worst for me. I think I'm not going to Ponder here. Like, that's the thing that goes wide of single target removal, like Erode. Yeah, that can resolve. Yep, that's fine. Ooh, nice. I think I actually resolved the Tamiyo first. Then attempt to erode this creature. Alright, cool. Opponent does have the basic island. Delver is fine. Delver is fine. If my opponent goes after Tamiyo, I think I force and protect. Jesus, okay. Third Delver is a bit much. That's a lot. Gosh, that's such a bad draw. In with Tamiyo. Draw for clue. Swords is fine. I'll fetch. I think I have to do a basic plains now. Let's take out the newer Delver art. You know, put some respect on the OG. Opponent has a Brainstorm to get aggressive with Delver. I don't care if they kill my Tamiyo. I do just have another one. And there's not really instants and sorceries in the graveyard for the purposes of Murktide Regent. or flow state for that matter. I don't remember if I've seen a flow state yet. I think I saw one in game 1 pitched to a Force of Will. Opponent has another Brainstorm. I will take 3 here, not a big deal. 14 is plenty healthy. Land drop is something that is not killing me. Brainstorm. Lightning Bolt is fine. Again, I have another Tamiyo. I'm fine using this as a land drop. That's a basic island at this stage. And I've got a Tamiyo. This is a very close game as of right now. My opponent has some very big swingy draws like Murktide Regent that can happen, but I have an active Tamiyo, and if my opponent doesn't kill that, my overall higher card quality in my deck is going to start taking over this game. I will get a clue. I'm cracking that immediately. Vista is not what I'm looking for. I mean, that's a bad draw. It's not a blue thing to pair with Force of Will for if my opponent rips Murktide. It's not something that answers Delver. I will take 3. I am at 8. Oh, opponent has more land. Their last card could be a Force of Will effect. Oh, that's a weird one. I don't think I use that this turn. Or thinking about. I think I would rather just draw a card here. Ponder is now fine. I can flip Tamiyo with Ponder. Tamiyo plus to 4. I like it. A Daze. They're just returning the Surveil land there. How many basic planes are in my deck? 3. So this is plains or island. Sure, then I will pay. Rest in Peace is probably not what I want when I want to be doing Tamiyo minus stuff. I might just take Brainstorm so it pairs with Force of Will. Maybe I will take the Rest in Peace. So Tamiyo plus pass turn. My opponent can now reuse the Thundering Falls. Keep on top. No, that went Bobble to Graveyard. We'll see how my opponent feels about Tamiyo versus just going after my life total. I would like to go after Tamiyo. All right, Tamiyo to 2. I want to Verdict away the Delver. If so, do I keep Rip? I think I shuffle Rip. I care about white quite a bit for hard casting some of these things. I don't want to get wastelanded off of white. Let's do that. Healthy magic. White, blue, some other color. Just say no to Delvers. There is Tamiyo, creature form. I have Force of Will that can generically answer most of the things that my opponent would floop down. Yeah, that's fine. And I can Tamiyo minus or Supreme Verdict or Erode or Swords or whatever. So there's still tension here, but I am turning the corner on this game. Now this is the point where I would like Rest in Peace. I'll just let that resolve. I don't want the next thing here to be worse. That was just another one. Tamiyo minus Supreme Verdict after attacking is like fine. Yeah. I can do even better. Tamiyo minus on Supreme Verdict. Go to combat. Attack with Tamiyo. Trigger Investigate. Brainstorm. What a load of shit this Tamiyo card is. Alright, put back Energy Field. Transform Tamiyo. Keep this one. Tamiyo plus Supreme Verdict. Kill both DRCs. Yeah. Have Erode for any creature that my opponent plays. You have a second Surveil land? No. Ponder's fine. Opponent needs like some red elemental blast type stuff. Opponent shuffles. Plays Delver. I will Erode that. That can resolve. Energy Field. Thinking about just minusing on Lorien Revealed and casting it. Probably greedy. I will Ponder. Hydroblast is cool. I think I can do better. Alright, there is a land drop. We'll just Erode that Delver. No basic left. Draw a card with the clue. Helm is here. Tamiyo plus. Pass turn. I'm looking for a rip at this point to assemble both of my combos. Although I might just win by drawing half of my library here. No. Force of Will. Pitch Energy Field. Tamio is a -7. There's a mountain. Honestly, Tamio minus, Lorien revealed. Alright. Mediocre cards, that's fine. I just don't want my opponent to top deck Pyroblast and then leave me with just Helm of Obedience against them. I don't love that. Ooh, a flow state. I've not seen a Rest in Peace. I think I just let that resolve. That does give my opponent 2 cards, which is pretty good. Another flow state. Hate that. Sure. I could lose this. I will respond to that. Brainstorm. That's not great. Terminus can go back in deck for later. Just gonna redraw one of these. Yuck. Alright, Terminus can hang out on the top of my deck. I will float a Helm of Obedience in play and pass turn. All 4 copies of Rest in Peace filling in the bottom of the deck. I think I did pass over 1 at some point. Good God, alright. Anyway, if you're wondering why Expressive Iteration was banned, that is a great illustration of the point. There's a Murktide Regent. I think I'm going to cast a Swords to Plowshares despite the fact that I have Terminus on top of my library, because I would rather not use my draw step to get the Terminus when I have things like Rest in Peace that are so impactful. Alright, cool. Fetch. Yeah. Thank you, deck. Very nice. Opponent gets 3 flow states in a row. I can't find a Rest in Peace to save my life. 4 flow states? It seems like this is a Murktide. It is. Tempt Swords on Murktide. There is a Force of Will pitching a Daze. Sure. I will die to that. Straight up. Very nice deck. Very nice. I will pass turn here. I'm not dead yet. I'm just rather upset. Murktide swings in. I'm going to go to 4 very specifically. I'm not going to go to 3. Helm of Obedience, target you. Tap a gajillion fucking mana. X equals 9. I need to find a blocker. I find a Murktide Regent blocker. Opponent does not have Lightning Bolt, or I died there. I need to answer Murktide Regent again. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. Thank you, Rest in Peace. You have shown up right on time. That is an unfortunate loss. I feel like my deck just did not want me to win this round. GG. Alright. Opening hand is fine here. Thoughtseize taking Tamio makes this hand very significantly worse. I hope that I am playing against a tempo deck where these 3 cards are live, because if I am not, I am quite sad. Ponder is fine. Wasteland hits play. This is probably tempo. Do I want to play Rest in Peace in a dazable capacity? Sure. Like, it's cool if this resolves, and if it doesn't, like, whatever. I have 3 removal spells for their next 3 creatures. I also just have 3 more copies of Rest in Peace in my deck. Tamio resolves. I have the ability to destroy that pretty easily. I think I'll start on Swords here. Attempt to send that to exile. Success. I'm just going to resolve Brainstorm around Orcish Bowmasters here. You can daze me if you want. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I have 3 land drops. I'm not wastelandable. Things are fine. Yep. Meticulous Archive is kind of whatever. Keep getting rid of these. And I don't care if this land gets wastelanded. I'll say no to Force of Will. My deck is a bit clunkier than the average blue deck in that I am trying to resolve 2 things together that do something cool, rather than just play out one relatively strong card like Barrogoyf or Murktide Regent that will just singularly take over the game. And that's kind of the name of Legacy right now, rather than like play synergistic things, just play extremely powerful cards as frequently as you can. Murktide resolves. I will erode that. And opponent presumably has 2 basics in their deck. Alright, there is a Tamio. I will play that. I'll hold this. I haven't given my opponent any targets for a Fatal Push style card yet. It would not surprise me if Tamio just dies here. A singularly powerful card that just takes over the game by itself. Where are my Rest in Pieces? Ooh, that's a good back to basics. It's an even better back to basics. Nice. Bam, bam, bam. Back to basics. Drop Tamio. Hold. So I'm going to take some damage here. I think that's fine. I'm going to assume that my opponent being severely cut off their resources is going to be rather favorable for me. Oh, they found a ThrabenU though. That's pretty bad. Erode, back to basics, negative synergy, anti-synergy coming into play. Force of will, not what I am looking for. Get in with ThrabenU. Opponent can block, that's fine. Draw a card with ThrabenU. I am not sure if I want to cast this spell. If I cast it and hit well, I'm in great shape. Like hitting a removal spell for the Barrogoyf while having my ThrabenU Planeswalker active is a big deal. I think I will go for it. Ooh, opponent pitches flow state there. You've got it. I will pass turn. So that is probably a one-time use land. My guess is that they have a basic island and a basic swamp. Is that the basic swamp, by the way? That is the basic swamp. Cool. Combat. In with ThrabenU. I will ponder here. Ponder is okay. I will just shuffle, though. This is just a random draw. My ThrabenU maybe gets attacked down here. That buys me a turn, though. I think that's fine. Yuck. I have so many live draws here. I'm not hitting them. As a rip reduces Barrogoyf to 0 power. Any 0 cost thing saves the ThrabenU as well. That's okay. Opponent fetches. Plays flow state. Sure. There aren't very many things that matter here, and if my opponent finds force of will, I just force of will their force of will if I do something relevant anyway. Yeah, wasteland is fine. Holy shit, deck. Like, I know that I am not playing the best deck today, but it feels like I'm on a gajillion outs to stuff, and my deck is just like, nah, absolutely not. You can't draw anything that is reasonable. Opponent finds a Bowmasters, which would be very difficult to cast at this stage. Yeah, just absolutely fuck me, I guess. Wow. That is frustrating. So, like, these work, these are redraws, these work, this is effectively a redraw, that is 3 redraws, that is totally fine and good. These are also... It was basically everything. All right. Cool. All right. You. Force a negation can go. I'm upset at back to basics. It can go. Counterbalance can probably go as well. That gets me 3 removal spells here. All right. This is mediocre, but fine. The energy field that I have here is more likely to be used as force of will pitch than anything else. Do I want 2 of these? Not really. I don't mind the basic planes. The rest of these I don't super like. I'll just shuffle. ThrabenU is much better than everything else in that pile put together. I'm going to Prismatic Ending that ThrabenU, so that's fine. All right, cool. Rest in peace. Energy field is a thing that is here. Prismatic Ending on ThrabenU as a starting point. And I have so many things in this hand, I will play a Dazable ThrabenU. All right, cool. It resolved. Snuff Out. How do we feel about this? I think I'm willing to protect ThrabenU. ThrabenU is a stupid Magic the Gathering card. Oh, shit. All right. Double Snuff Out. I guess if you're going down like the flow state card advantage route, that's a pretty respectable instant to put into play. Losing Rip here is rough. I will make my land drop and pass the turn. Probably a very good Brainstorm. Opponent knows they can play around my 1 remaining relevant card. Wasteland comes down. Opponent passes. That's a hell of a fucking draw. Rest in peace is so good here. Nice. So now the flow states aren't 2 for 1s. Bowmasters has occurred. I will clean that. Well, Wrath of the Skies would also take out my Rest in Peace. I guess that's a little awkward. But, like, I've made the Barrogoyfs and Murktide and Flow State style cards significantly worse here. This is fine. That is also quite good as a draw. It does an end of turn Brainstorm. And they can Surveil, I suppose. That Brainstorm might have been worth doing on their own turn. As much mana as they have. Ooh. Goodbye, Helm. Yep. Now, I do only have 2 of those. And 1 is now in exile. That's not great. think if you're going to do that Ponder, you do it before to potentially be able to play another Bowmaster and get an extra point of damage in. I mean, yep. Here is Rip Energy Field. Bell Pierce. Sure. That was very timely. There's a Dalthy Voidwalker. I am being set up for a pretty good Wrath of the Skies, but it would also take out my Rest in Peace. That is a basic island that does not cast Wrath of the Skies. I am being set up for an incredible Wrath of the Skies. My opponent is kind of all in on this. If this doesn't work, getting 4 for 1 to buy Wrath of the Skies almost certainly just ends the game. But, you know, I can't catch a break in this league. This is real rough. GG. Alrighty. My opening hand is fine. I've got Tamiyo. I've got a Swords for an opposing Tamiyo. This could be a time that I just don't play Tamiyo on turn 1 and I try to like wait and Tamiyo Brainstorm to protect it. But if this is a combo deck, I would much rather have the Tamiyo in play. My Brainstorm potentially also needs to unclunk this hand. Undercity Sewers. No to Force of Will. Tamiyo gets dazed. That is fine. Undercity Sewers comes back down and keeps a card on top. I have too much land here. Let's try to figure out what's going on with this. Ugh. Alright, Energy Field can go back, and then one land of some kind can go back. Back the Prismatic Vista. Play a Flooded Strand, call it good there. Second land drop comes down for my opponent. Their Brainstorm is fine. Opponent fetches and plays Tamiyo. That's fine. I will remove that, I think, on my own turn when it can be done around days. And I think I will just fetch a basic here rather than surveil and become wastelandable. Begin with Swords here. Cool. I'll just drop a land and pass. Ponder is fine. Brainstorm is fine. Notably, opponent did keep with that Ponder, so this Brainstorm is probably not doing a ton. At this stage, my hand is pretty bad. This time, I will go for Meticulous Archive, I think. Oh, so much land. Or land. That might be a spell at this stage, honestly. Last turn. But I'm playing against a Dazed deck, so tapping out for this on 5 is not safe. Wasteland comes down, and the flow state bullshit begins. I think I'm going to let it resolve. My current read is that my Rest in Peace main deck is bad against the flow state decks, which is pretty damn sad. Alright, am I getting to my main phase with this mana? I am not. That's fine. I mean, that's a big deal. Well, I guess a big deal in theory. I lost the last time I tried this, right? That is a Force of Will. I will Force of Will back here. Pitching my own Force of Will. I will fetch. Get another Plains. And pay for this. My opponent is probably just bouncing a land to their hand. So that they get another use out of it. You can try to save up for like a Murktide or a Barrowgoyf. That has the potential to just singularly kill me. Oh, we're Doomsday on top of all of this. Alright. Well, I sure don't impact my opponent's life total meaningfully. Alright, let's check out this exile pile. Alright, there is Murktide, there is Brazen Borrower. Opponent's pile does not have Cavern of Souls. Alright. So, I can cast Lorien Revealed and draw 3 cards and try to hit Force of Will blue card. Or I can erode, like leave up Erode. I think I'm going to cast Lorien Revealed and draw 3. Alright, those cards don't do anything here. Opponent Brainstorms has LED. They can now cycle with Edge of Autumn or Street Wraith. Get 3 blue mana. Do Consider. So Erode would not have done anything here, and we are just dead. Anyway, Flow State, good card. GG. So I am interested in some more counter magic. Interested in this for the Thassa's Oracle trigger. Interested in this as it reduces my opponent's life total to 0. I am probably going to take all of the copies of Energy Field out of the deck. That's just not how we're hoping to win. I'm probably going to take all of the copies of Terminus out of the deck. How many of these does that get me? That gets me all of these. Alright, so we're going to be leaving in Erode and Swords to Plowshares. They will have relevant text versus any number of sideboard pivot creatures or the Murktide and Tamiyo style cards that I've already seen. Okay. It's a little weird, but I do have my first 2 land drops secured. And Rest in Peace is relevant versus Flow State and Murktide Regent. It's fine. That's all it is fine. Cool. I am very happy for my opponent to have a slower start and not be under the gun from a turn 1 Tamiyo. That's Island Cycle. I think I will just get the basic here, as I am a back to basics deck. I do have 2 copies of 4th Airlingas though. Basic Island. I'm just gonna shove this immediately. If it gets dazed, whatever. I have another one for next turn. It resolves. Marsh Flats. That can resolve. I probably lose Force of Will. From my perspective, the Ponder is the card in my hand that I'm most excited about, but Force is probably the thing that stops whatever my opponent can do to fight back against my nonsense. Oh, I have lost a Consign. Dark Ritual and Doomsday. Am I just going to get dazed if I cast this? I kind of want to let that resolve. I don't think I'm going to. Alright, I get Force of Will back. My opponent has left me with a copy of Consign, which they can take with a Thoughtseize. Alright, so opponent could have like multiple Thassa's Oracles, and that's another way to just beat the Consign, is make me have it twice. Thank you, Rest in Peace. I really fucking appreciate you today. You have just always shown up exactly when I needed you. Right on time. And I think that's lovely. Ah! Let's see if I am dead now. Great Wraith cycles as well. Now my opponent can fetch and play Oracle, and I don't have a removal spell, so that's just fucking good enough. That is an absolute beating. We have lost 4 times in a row, I believe versus Flow State Blue decks every round. I think at this point I'm going to drop this league, and let's talk about some things. GG's. Alright, so rather than a final round here, we're gonna really deep dive the deck list here. So this is more than just overall thoughts on the deck list. So basically what I was finding today was that playing Rest in Peace to fight against Flow State was worse than just playing Flow State myself. I had a relatively large number of cards that were not good on their own. With Energy Field being the biggest offender here, I do not believe that Energy Field saved me a single point of life today throughout this entire league, and this was probably my most shuffled away card. The fact that so many decks can just answer enchantments naturally now means that this combo is pretty unreliable. It used to be that in game 1, if you stuck an enchantment, it was just there forever. So the Maverick players who played something like a game 1 Sylvan Library, like that was just there for the rest of the game. Just period, end of statement. And Legacy decks kill you so much faster than they used to. It is rarer for us to see like the 12 plus turn games where this sort of Rest in Peace Energy Field stuff can just absolutely shine. It takes a while to get both of these pieces assembled, and you really want the Rest in Peace first and the Energy Field second. The original list that was submitted to me wanted to be doing this thing, and I preserved that, but it may just be if you want to play Rest in Peace Helm, you either don't play Energy Field or you play 1 or 2 Energy Fields. The stuff that I was doing just wasn't winning games, so we lost games where we resolved back to basics and more or less locked our opponents out. We lost games after having Tamiyo for a long time, as our opponent just went Flow State, Flow State, Flow State, and then turned 1 card into a billion cards and buried us. And that was even after I hedged against my opponent getting exactly Pyroblast to answer Tamiyo, which did happen. So the blowout would have been worse if I didn't try to play around it. I don't believe I ever resolved a 4th Airlingas. I'm not even sure if I put one on the stack, so that meant that my mana was made worse for a card that didn't work out. Although it was something that I was boarding in, it was something that I was hoping to draw. Maybe that I could have shaved a land from this deck or put another cantrip or 2 into this deck to smooth things out. I flooded out a decent amount. There were some games where we just legitimately were incredibly unlucky and like we didn't see Rest in Peace for a very, very long time, or, we had 20 outs and just missed. But I think the deck design of having a bunch of situational things is worse than just playing a pile of good cards. And I wanted to do a compare and contrast here. So kind of there's two different styles of blue-white X control decks floating around in Legacy Night right now, not counting the like 5-color up the beanstalk stuff. So flavor 1 is like the Jeskai Wizards variant, which is playing things that just naturally cantrip, like Thunder Trap Trainer, to enable Flame of Honor. So Flame of Honor is a perfectly reasonable card to cast. 3 mana, draw 2, not super great. 3 mana, 5 damage to a creature, not super great. But that's a respectable, castable card. And the fact that when you have Tamiyo or Thundertrap Trainer, all of a sudden it is a draw 2 that also kills a creature that might also transform Tamiyo, keeps this very, very low to the ground. And this is doing a lot of the same things that our deck was doing, but getting rid of the counterbalance and terminus type stuff that you might need to set up, and getting rid of most of the situational cards that don't pitch to Force of Will. If you take a look here, like the Force of Will and Force of Negation count is going to be way higher in this deck than what we were doing, because we're trying to do Rest in Peace and Erode and Helm that don't pitch to the Force of Wills. And then your secondary version of a blue-white control deck looks something like this. This was from a recent Legacy challenge. I believe it was a top 8. And this is just the flow state variant of what we were doing. So rather than play rather than play Rest in Peace to fight flow state, this deck is just playing flow state to fight flow state. And it is going incredibly efficient with its spells, going into things like Spell Snare and Spell Pierce to just get more value out of the bonus cards that you are getting with flow state. You just aggressively trade spells early on, or you cast a flow state and you get things that are easy to cast. You rebuy them with Snapcaster Mage. I think both of these approaches are better than what we tried to do today. And somebody I was chatting with in my Discord server recently was talking about how like the Stoneblade players were relatively high on Rest in Peace as a tool. And I think today showed that like trying to fight this metagame with Rest in Peace is perhaps not going to be great. If I was going to play Rest in Peace Helm again, how would I change things? I was conceptually worried that I did not have enough finishers with just 2 copies of Helm of Obedience, because the Tamiyo Ultimate doesn't technically win you the game, and especially if you're a Rest in Peace deck, you can't get this Helm back from the graveyard in any capacity. So I think literal 2 finishers isn't enough. Maybe you can just be blue-white and go some other routes. So if you got rid of 4th Airlingas, and let's say you got rid of Back to Basics as well, and 2 copies of Energy Field and Counterbalance, you could add about 2 more finishers and 3 more pieces of interaction of some kind. You also could just, like, not with the Terminus. The Supreme Verdicts were good today. I was perfectly happy having that card. Maybe you could main deck Supreme Verdict where this deck has Terminus. It's so hard not being able to just jam Murktide Regent in here as something that you can just close the game with in 2 turns once you have stabilized the board. What else could you do? Katara? Go heavier on creatures? I don't know that you want to go back to something like Monastery Mentor. Like, you could play this as a Kori Steelcutter deck, I suppose, which is more mana efficient than Mentor, but Kori Steelcutters aren't pitching to Force of Will, and you're still trying to play like Helms and Rips that don't pitch to the Force effects as well. I don't know. The honest answer is probably that doing this strategy is not something that you should be doing in current Legacy, despite the fact that it looks like it should be good. Limited sample size of 1 league, of course. But we took a beating today, and it did not feel like this deck was particularly good. So Justin, we tried, we failed, we learned some things from it. That's going to happen sometimes. Folks, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and if you have an idea that you want to see on the channel, the donation queue is always open. If you want to do some Leyline Helm stuff instead, I'd be happy to do it. All right, have a great day, folks. See ya!